He's made a return to our sofa. We're joined by the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, to answer all your questions. Good morning, Prime Minister. How are you?
Good morning, Prime Minister.
How are you guys?
So good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Great to be here.
I think we've had literally, well, nearly all the Prime Ministers on this sofa, but... Yeah, bar one, maybe.
I'm not going to ask you what your favourite was.
Well, time was
hopefully, you never know. It could be you.
Slots there, that's good.
But thank you you're very welcome. Thank you for coming.
No, it's great to be here.
We want to talk about lots of different things. We want to find out more about you, but obviously there's a bit of business this morning. Figures announced at 9:30, the latest immigration figures. The number we're getting, net immigration, 606,000. Lower than expected, Prime Minister, but much higher than promised, let's be honest. How do you feel about them?
Numbers are too high. It's as simple as that, and I want to bring them down. And that's why this week we announced some new measures, and I think pretty much the biggest thing that anyone's ever announced to bring the levels of migration down, and it's a new policy which limits the amount of family members that people who are studying here can bring with them when they come and study here. And what we've seen over the last few years is that number of dependents has just absolutely spiralled. Almost 150,000 dependents of people who are studying here coming. We're saying from now on, that's not going to be allowed. There's a few other things we're doing as well, but that's going to make a big difference because I want to get the numbers down. And people have heard me talking a lot about illegal migration and stopping the boats. This matters as well, and people should rest assured.
Is it out of control, do you think, at the moment?
Well, no, I think the numbers are just too high. And there's been various factors, and you'll read the report, whether it was welcoming people here from Hong Kong or Ukraine, that's had an impact. As we saw after the pandemic, more people came back to study here who hadn't been here during the pandemic years. Look, but fundamentally, the numbers are high. I want to bring them down. The measures we announced this week are more than...
They're not controlled, though, right? Therefore, they're out of control. Let's be honest, because promises were made to keep them much lower than this. And it was one of your big manifestos, and it's the thing that they're talking about in supermarkets and in pubs and in cafes. Can you reassure people that it's going to come down and continue coming down?
Yeah, of course. I want to bring the numbers down. The measures we've announced this week are more impactful than anything that anyone has ever announced before when it comes to tackling migration. But to your point, Craig, what are people talking about when I'm out and about in cafes, restaurants, wherever it might be? They do talk to me more about illegal migration. And I'm sure your viewers, when you see things on your TV screens, people coming here illegally on small boats across a channel, I think that really says to people, hang on, that's really not properly in control when people can break the rules, come here illegally, and that's why I'm working so hard. One of my 5 priorities, in fact, is to stop the boats, and you'll know we're taking tough measures to do that with new laws that we're passing through Parliament.
What is the dream number? What's your target number? What can people look out for?
Well, I want the numbers to come down, and that's what people... Well, look, these things are not easy to do. It depends on the economy, and we need to make sure...
So pre-COVID, you were around 260, 270, that was your target
and the numbers that I've inherited are closer to 500,000 plus, and you've seen the numbers today, as you said. But look, my commitment is to bring numbers down. Right, and the measures that we've put in place this week are significant. They will bring the numbers down over time. That's what I want to do. We're looking at other things as well, and we'll keep looking at it. And it goes alongside our other plan, though, to stop the boats, because that's really important. And, the idea that people can come here illegally, jump the queue, and as we know, they're occupying hotels right across the country, which is costing all your viewers, taxpayers, millions of pounds a day. That's not right. That's not fair. We've got to stop that too. And that's why we're passing new laws in Parliament to help us do that.
Rwanda's still in your plans? When are we going to see the first people on that plane? You're still backing it? You're still supporting it? Because
absolutely.
It's splitting opinion out there. Really.
Yeah, you know what? I think more... Well, it's only when people I talk to, more people are supportive of the plan because they realise that the system we've got at the moment isn't working. And why isn't it working? It's because it's not fair, right? How can it be fair for someone to come here illegally when there are people who are waiting their turn and doing it properly? It's not fair on your viewers who are having to fork out £5.5 million a day to house people in hotels who have come here illegally. And it's also not fair on people who we really need to help because we're not able to because we're tied up dealing with this, right? There are lots of vulnerable people in the world that we want to welcome here and look after, but we can't do that if our system is full with people who jump the queue. That's why we can't defend the current system, and people are dying. And you've had reports on your shows as well. People are exploited by criminal gangs. They die when they're making these dangerous crossings. That's not right. Yeah. And that's why we've got to put a new system in place. And if you come here illegally, I want it to be crystal clear. You won't be able to stay. We'll detain you and we'll send you back to your own country if it's safe. And if it's not, then you'll go to Rwanda, which is also safe for you. And that's the policy that we want to put in place.
We've a few things we want to move through, but there's one thing and people talk to me about this all the time. I'm not sure if I'm quite clear on it either. Obviously, you want to cut down those numbers, but also you look at the agricultural sector, the service sector. They're desperately in need of people to work there. You need immigrants to work in those areas.
The NHS is full of immigrants, as we know. My parents were immigrants, your parents.
My parents were immigrants as well.
Sometimes feels like a battle between the Treasury and the Home Office. Sometimes I'm sure the Treasury want more people in to work in those industries.
Well, that's...
And you want to back up those numbers you promised.
Look, that's why when you asked me, Craig, what's the precise number? I said, well, it depends on the state of the economy and public services. Now, we have a special visa, actually, Alison, for people coming to work in the NHS or in social care. We've created a special visa category for them because you're right, we do need them. Everyone wants their parents, their grandparents to be looked after. We need to have people to do that. But I think crucially, people want to know, look, are you training people here to do these jobs as well? And we are. People want to know, hang on, we've got all these people that we're hearing are on out-of-work benefits. Are we supporting them to take these jobs? We're doing that as well, because I think people would want to see those things happening as well before we just say, let's get people here from abroad. So, look, we've got to be sensitive to the needs of the NHS, of the economy, but fundamentally the numbers are too high. I'm bringing them down. The measures we've announced this week are going to help us do that.
Well, the person leading those efforts for immigration is Suella Braverman. And, I mean, as the Prime Minister, does it annoy you when a distraction happens, something like the speed awareness course, and the fact that you've kind of let her off the hook a little bit, haven't you? You've let her off the hook. You said she didn't break any rules, but it is a distraction away from the things that we need to sort out, isn't it?
Well, you know, sadly, politics is full of these types of things, but what I'd say is, look, I'd just say slightly differently to how you put it. I haven't let her off the hook. I've gone through the details of what happened.
Did she break the rules?
No, she didn't break the ministerial code, and I've spent time going through it. And not just that, I've also asked my independent advisor, because we have the government and the Prime Minister has an independent advisor on these things. He's also met with her. She's made a fulsome disclosure about what's happened. She's expressed regret. And
she took the points in the end, didn't she?
Fundamentally,
she looked for an option. She looked for the option to break the ministerial code because she took advice on ways around it. Let's be honest.
And the point is, she took advice. Right, she took advice, and as she herself has said, look, she might have done things differently now in hindsight, and that's the right approach. She's apologised, and on the basis of that, the independent advisor said no need for a formal investigation, and we can close the matter here. So that's what we've done.
What, Rishi?
But
can I just say this, Rishi?
Yeah, go on.
Here's the thing, right? If she was like going to just do the speed awareness course and I saw her on the course, I'd be like, that's amazing. Suella's like one of the people. She's one of us. She's doing a speed awareness course as well. She breaks the law as well. She has to pay the fine or whatever. I would have loved to have seen her on that speed awareness course. I've done two. They were taking selfies of me on the Zoom. They were taking selfies. I was like literally posing.
I think they're not meant to, Alison.
The thing is, it is what it is, isn't it? And it would have been so much better to see her do that course and just be part of the people.
So look, I think the main point is, look, she did ultimately, she took the point, she paid the fine, as she should have done. That's what she did. She was just exploring options for how that might be done, given her position and the fact that she has security. As I said, she's made a full account of it. She's apologised. The independent advisor's also been consulted by me. So I think, look, right to draw a line under it now and focus on, as you said, distraction, because what people want us to be focusing on is stopping the boats. Well, that's what they want the Home Secretary to be focused on, stopping the boats, tackling migration, and also keeping us safe. I mean, you were talking about vapes before we came on, right? I have 2 young girls. I also worry about that. And that's why we've actually recently funded a new hit squad that's going to go in and tackle all these shops that shouldn't be selling vapes for children, which is already illegal. We're looking at how can we strengthen the rules on how are they marketed, promoted, what do they look like? Because it looks like they're targeted at kids, which is ridiculous, right? I don't want my kids to be, seduced by any of these things. That's what people want us to be focusing on. That's what's going to make a difference to their lives.
Well, the reason why you're here today...
Sorry, one small thing, because it's kind of bugging me a little bit. I'm sorry, Prime Minister, but the Suella Braverman thing is more... Well, it's more a consequence of post-Boris, let's be honest. And people want to feel that you're a relatable government. And when moments like this happen, they still feel that your ministers feel they can behave differently to everyone else. And that's the problem. Is that something that keeps you awake at night, being more relatable to the public, so they can really, really believe in you and trust you and feel you're transparent?
So I think trust is earned, Craig, right? And I want to earn people's trust, and the way we're going to do that is by demonstrating to everybody that we're acting with the right intentions, we've got the right priorities, and that we're going to make a difference to them, right? That their lives are going to be better. That's how you earn people's trust. And when it comes to behaviour, I said on the first day I got the job, right, I believe that we should have integrity and accountability and professionalism in politics and in my government. That's what I want the hallmarks of my government to be. And look, I can't be judged on things that happened before I was Prime Minister. What you can judge me on is that when things happen now, how do I deal with them? Do I deal with them professionally? And in this case, I got the facts, as I've done when other things have come up. I get the facts, I get advice, I consult the independent advisor. That's the proper process for these things. That will happen in a company, and then I make a decision which people can see, and I do that transparently, right? So that's my approach to these things. We should deal with them professionally, and you will always get that from me. But I agree with you. Of course, you've got to earn people's trust, and you do it by focusing on the things that matter to them and actually delivering the things that you say, and that's what I'm all about. It's not easy, I know that, right? I didn't have the easiest of in-trades when I got the job, but there's a lot to do, and I'm sure we'll talk about energy prices and the cost of living in a minute, but my job is to make those things better for people, right? That's how you earn people's trust, and that's what I do every day.
Because this is the reason you're here today. This is the new NHS initiative. It's a new app. At the moment, it's 7.3 million people are on the waiting list at the moment. This app is supposed to help you get your operation, get your done. There's so many people out there who are ill, who are waiting for something. What is this app going to do? Is it going to bring those numbers down?
Yes, in a word. So one of my 5 priorities is to cut waiting lists, right? I think at this point, almost everyone knows someone who's on a waiting list as a result of the pandemic. And one of the ways we can cut waiting lists is by giving patients choice about where they get their treatment from. And all the studies show that can cut waiting times by up to 3 months. So we've redone everything, and you're now going to be able to go on the app that you all used during COVID, remember, to book vaccine appointments. Use the app or go to the NHS website, and when you're referred for hospital treatment, your GP will make it clear that you've got choice of where to go. You'll be able to search, check the distance from where you are, check the quality, check the waiting times, and then figure out where you want to get treated. And I think that's going to be really powerful, puts patients in control, it will cut waiting times, and not only that, later this year, we're going to extend that same choice to people who are already waiting too long for an appointment, so they can exercise that choice and hopefully find somewhere that might be quicker as well.
Do you think that will definitely work? Because in February it was 7.2 million, it's now 7.3 million. Hopefully that will start to reduce now.
So the plan is, one thing we did last year is we virtually eliminated all the people who were waiting over 2 years. That's not acceptable. We've eliminated those. Just this last month, we delivered on what I said we would do, which is practically eliminate the number of people waiting 1.5 years. So that's just about done. And I've said by next spring, we will have practically eliminated the number of people waiting 1 year for treatment, and the overall number on the waiting list, as you said, Alison, that should be coming down by then too.
We definitely need
there's a range of things we're doing to make that possible.
A year's a long time.
Yeah, but look, it's improving every month.
You've got a hard job to do. You have got a hard job to do.
I was just going over
waiting 1 year is a hard job too.
Yeah, but we're making progress every month, Craig. As I said, just this month, the number of people waiting 1.5 years, we've virtually eliminated that. And we've actually seen, just this month, paid tribute to all our amazing NHS workers. We've had the fastest ambulance response time in 2 years. This past month's statistics.
What's the time?
So it depends on the category of call-out, but the one that we most look at is Cat 2, and that's down to 28 minutes. And in December, you remember when things were really bad, it was over 1.5 hours. Because we've been working really hard at bringing that down, and that's showing the signs of progress, right? And 999 calls, 111 calls, A&E wait times, the last month's numbers. Everyone on the NHS has done a superb job. They deserve enormous praise. Compared to where we were in the winter, we're making real progress. We're not there yet. Of course we're not. And that's why I'm working at it every day, every week, every month to keep making it better.
Especially when it comes to strikes. It's been a year of strikes. It's been awful. And now I've got a neighbour. Her name's Molly. She's only 8 years old. She's got a question for you. Have a look at this.
Hi, I'm Molly. I'm Alison's neighbour, and I have a question for the Prime Minister. The teacher strikes have recently been hard for lots of children, especially after COVID. What are you going to do as Prime Minister to make sure schools have enough money to give children like me a good education?
That's Molly. She's my neighbour.
Molly. She's great.
Good.
And she's a little bit younger than my girls. Yeah, she's fantastic. One thing that really bugged me about the pandemic and lockdowns and everything was the impact it had on our kids' education. Right? It's absolutely tragic what's going on. And one of the things I did as Chancellor was made sure we put more money into helping kids, particularly disadvantaged kids, catch up with that lost learning.
Yeah.
So we're in the process of doing that, and the way we're doing it is with tutoring, actually, which we've never done before on this scale, so that will be helping lots of kids. But Molly's question is about what are we doing about strikes? And I want people to know we're working really hard to resolve these things. I think people will have seen that we are finding ways to do it with the NHS, for example. Over 1 million NHS workers, you know, they've found an agreement with the government, so that's great news. And with teachers, we try to do the same thing. I'm sad that it hasn't been possible yet, and they rejected the offer. Now, of course, look, I think teachers do an amazing job. I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for the education I received. I'm really passionate about it. But you talked about inflation before, right? And I've got to make some difficult choices. I've got to, yeah, and I've got to figure out, look, what's fair to all your viewers when it comes to their taxes? What's the responsible thing to do when inflation is high and we need to get it down? And
cost of living, tackling supermarkets.
Exactly. And then I've got to figure out what's a fair pay deal. So what we did with teachers is we put billions of pounds more funding into schools at the end of last year. So Molly should be reassured we put billions of pounds more in. And we made a good offer to teachers. It was for a 5% pay rise last year, about a 5% pay rise this year. But on top of that, a £1,000 one-off bonus to recognise that things were tough at the moment. And we're getting the starting salary of a teacher up to £30,000. So up to £30,000 starting salary for a teacher, a commitment we made that we're delivering on. And now the average salary for a classroom teacher is about £40,000 after these pay deals. So look, so that's the situation. You know, I'd encourage everyone to recognise the situation and see that that's fair, see that other unions have settled with the government, and hopefully we can find a way through.
Yeah, we need the strikes to end. And
we
also
really
need
Molly
Molly to go into PM questions on Thursday.
That'd be great. Excellent. Well, you should bring Alison, why don't you bring her in? You can come bring her in on a Wednesday if you want.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love
PMQs one week, that'd be great.
It's an interesting show, this, isn't it? Because we listen to what the viewers want. A lot of them want these questions answered.
Yeah,
but a lot of them said, can you not just focus on politics? Can you ask the Prime Minister about his own life?
Right.
So we're trying to balance things a little bit. So apologies if your area wasn't covered today. A lot of people want to know about you a little bit. I'd love to start with you talk about your girls so lovingly, and it's lovely to see it in your eyes. You obviously adore them, understandably. How do they deal with reading about Dad in the newspapers every day? And a lot of it being negative. Your Prime Minister goes with the gig.
You know, I'm lucky in the sense that they're probably at the age that they're not really watching the evening news every day.
So they're 12 and
they're 10 and 12. Yeah, just turned 12 a couple of weeks ago, and the little one's 10. So they're not massively reading the news. They're still little.
That's good.
So which is good. And so they're broadly fine with it. And look, they've been seeing me do these jobs over the last few years, so they're a little bit used to that. So, but look, fundamentally, you know, I'm Dad, and they're more focused on whether I'm helping them with whatever they want me to do, whether it's, you know, playing top trumps or doing whatever Lego, or, you know, taking them to whatever class they're doing.
Is these Jilly Cooper books true? Are you really into those books? Is that not true?
Yes, that is.
It is true.
Very unclear how that has emerged.
Is it true?
Yes, I'm. Yes,
I love a Jilly Cooper book. They're amazing.
Which one?
Can't remember, just the sexy bits.
Okay. So all the kind of riders, rivals, polo, man who made husbands jealous, the passion after all those. That's
yes, Prime Minister.
Genuine fan.
Those are my. Yeah, she's done lots of different books. That's the set of books that I like, is those ones.
OK, when was the last time you cried, Prime Minister?
When was the last time I cried? You know, something just with one of our kids a little while ago. But no, it was a difficult thing, but it's fine.
Do you cry at DIY SOS like the rest of us?
Sorry?
DIY SOS? Does that bring it to you?
No, oh gosh, no.
You've got to connect, Prime Minister. You've got to watch the show.
That is not my... Look,
Nick Knowles will have you in tears.
Yeah, no, that is not my strong point. You do not want me anywhere near that. That is
all right, what's your biggest regret? That's my last one.
My biggest regret? What is my biggest regret?
Is it not coming on this show
I was going to say...
I'd say it's something to do with revealing Jilly Cooper novels.
I know, I was going to say, the fact that is something that we've had to talk about this morning, there we go.
It's probably... books, though.
They're good, they are good.
They're
good.
good.
Look, you need to have escapism in your life. And that's a good thing. So whether it's whatever TV you watch, whatever you're reading, it's good to be able to get away from your day-to-day, right? And just go into a totally different place. So that's why, whether it's a TV you watch or the books you read, you know, that's I think that's a good thing.
You've been close to Prime Ministers. You've seen how the job works. I'm just wondering, as we sum up, the reality of the job versus the expectations of it, the dreams of it. How's it been?
Look, well, I wasn't expecting it. And obviously, given what happened last summer, I remember, actually, I was, when Liz Truss resigned, I was with my girls. We were at TGI Fridays having lunch up in Teesside, and I was off taking them bowling, right? That's what I was doing. So it tells you, like, I was in a totally different place. But ultimately, I thought I could make a difference, and the country was not in an easy place. So that's why I came forward for it. And the reality is, it's hard, right? I mean, it's incredibly hard, right? We just went through the list of things that we're dealing with: migration, NHS backlogs, cost of living, strikes, right? None of this is easy. But my view is I can make a difference to it. Right, my view is I can bring inflation down, I can make sure we get the backlogs down and we cut waiting lists, that we can get a grip of the illegal migration problem, right? Like, it's not going to be easy, it's not going to happen overnight, but, I'm going to keep at it every day that I'm here. And hopefully people will see that.
It's a great country, keep making it better. That's the plan, that's
Prime
what we're going to
Minister
do. We all have a
Rishi,
role in that.
thank you so much for joining us.
No, it's been great.
We've really loved
Yeah,
it.
thanks so much.
It's been real fun.
Thank you so
Thanks very
much.
much.